bodies when we're little, you know, they're developing, they're growing. I understand that there will be a huge impact on that, which is why we're so stringent on it. But then there seems to be some sort of lack of awareness as we get older about how much sugar we're having, salt, and all of those things, which is quite interesting when we're so careful about it, say for younger people.
I mean, I love that you think that, but I unfortunately don't think that many people are that conscious of sugar when it comes to children. I mean, maybe I'm super like heightened to it because of my profession, and you know, I kids should not have sugar. I'm sorry, but even one of my grandparents, Romeo, who's 3, my eldest son, he's 3.5, and he's just discovered that he enjoys chocolate. Totally fine. I'm not going to restrict that. And I never want him to have an unhealthy relationship with food. So if he asks me for chocolate, I always say, yeah, of course you can, And I'm very proud of the fact that he is not one of these kids who is just like, oh my God, chocolate, and he'll binge on it, because I've never made him think that it's anything to be avoided or restricted. So he's very intuitive, to the point where he will have like a Lindor chocolate, ask for a second and eat half of the second because he's decided that's enough. Like, I just think that's incredible. However, like, one of my grandparents, like I was saying, if Romeo's got something, she's like, oh, can Hudson have one too? And I'm like, Hudson is 18 months old. He does not know of sugar. It is completely, unbeneficial for him to have that. It's actually detrimental to his health. No. And I just think it's more of a generation thing, but grandparents think, oh, they're kids, they can have sugar because they're kids. And I'm like, no. So yeah, in terms of like kids having sugar, I just think until they become aware of it, you just should not be giving it to them. I just don't agree with that. Sorry, people just, think I'm being strict there.
What would your points be? Like, someone says, well, why not? Why can't they? What would you say?
Because there's no nutritional benefit. And the younger you introduce it, everyone has a sweet tooth. A very high percentage of people have a sweet tooth. We know that ultimately at some point that kid is going to enjoy sugar. So why on earth would we give it to them earlier than needed? So yeah, that's my answer. Adults are, I think there's a bit of ignorance, like ignorance is bliss. We can't actually see the damaging effects of copious amounts of sugar on the brain and body until it's too late and you're being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I do just want to say as well, I am not demonizing sugar. I am your biggest chocolate fiend that you will ever meet. And I do think that, like I said at the beginning, those soul foods are important. And you want to go out with friends and you want to enjoy, your dessert together, your birthday cake, whatever it be. But I really do like the 80-20 rule. I think if 80%, and I use this with my kids as well, if 80% of their diet is made up of really wholesome, nutrient-rich foods, we have that 20% for going out and having, I don't know, whatever it be, pizza. Not that pizza's bad. I'm not demonizing certain types of food here, but I love going to the farmer's market and Romeo will see like the fresh cookies that are made and we'll grab a cookie together. That I think is a really wholesome thing to do with your kid, as long as they're not one. But so adults should not be having more than 30 grams of free sugars a day. And these are not sugars that come from like your whole foods, like fruits. It's that added sugar. A lot of this we do find in those ultra processed foods in the supermarket. They are in a lot of like pre-packaged snacks. And obviously if you're adding things like sugar to your tea or a lot of your baking, if you do a lot of baking, that's going to count as well. Children aged 7 to 10, I think this is so high, but the guideline is they shouldn't have more than 24 grams of free sugars. I think that's high, but just that's around 6 sugar cubes. And then kids age 4 to 6, again, I think this is so high, no more than 19 grams, which is around 5 sugar cubes. And then children age 0 to 4 actually shouldn't, there's not even a recommendation or a guideline because they should not have sugar. Obviously, like I said, my 3.5-year-old enjoys some ice cream and chocolate sometimes, but their bodies are too small to be having, certain amounts of sugar in their diet.
It's quite a lot of pressure when you have children to
oh my God
educate themselves in food.
And there's things like the older that they get, and when I say older, I'm talking like 2 or 3, when they start going to birthday parties and nursery, I do think the nursery my son goes to, that they are good, but you know, they have things like forest school where they're toasting marshmallows, which are just pure sugar, and he's been doing that from like the age of 2.5. So, and again, and I actually had a phone call from the nursery once because I made it very clear he was sugar free when he started nursery, and I had a phone call and they said, all the kids are having Rice Krispies, and Romeo's actually, he doesn't normally want them. He normally has Weetabix, but he's getting quite upset today because he wants a bowl and all the other kids have got one. So I was like, that is the last thing I want. I don't want him feeling like he's, left out or can't have something. So I just said, that's fine, you can give it to him.